I recently saw a comment on Twitter that said the following about the upcoming Firebase Z map. If it's as big as D Machina, then the Zombies community will be completely revived, smiley face. Which got me thinking, why does the Zombies community always need to be revived? And not in the gameplay form where it's revive me, I have ray gun, but in the sense that the community always leaves. That's what made me think critically about the past and the future of our special game mode, and why I think it's time to let it dwindle out for good. My name is Luke, and before you go out and type a comment yelling at me for my controversial take, hear me out. I love Call of Duty Zombies, and I have since the early Black Ops 1 days, and the passion in not only us, but the developers was so easily felt back in those days. Initially, Zombies was just that, a passion project, something not born of a corporate boardroom, and instead bred from the creative brains in Treyarch as an extra mode in Call of Duty 5, World at War, which I'll remind you, makes this mode 12 years old. Think back to that first play, clicking Zombies, solo, or online mode, and loading into Kino der Toten, or whatever map you first started on. The confusion of being thrust into an unknown environment with no tutorial, nothing but a pistol in your hands, and your own curiosity to discover what Zombies contains. Like most, when I first experienced this, I was just a child. My mind was curious and impressionable, just thinking on my 5th play, this time, I'll make it to the next room. It's gotta happen, when I loaded into Kino der Toten in those early days. Just hoping to be able to hear that round change music more times than the last play, specifically remembering those times when everybody was playing the game, going over to a friend's house and seeing him in a room of Kino I've never seen before, and being amazed that this room just existed. Just think of the first time you found out about perk machines, and how that jingle can make you feel so nostalgic today. Or hitting that round 11 mark for the first time, and seeing the round numbers change from tallies into solid numbers. I remember that feeling. It's like I had to tell everybody I know I saw that. I remember watching Syndicate hit round 115 and being absolutely astonished. This was the beginning of the adventure for us all. It was a challenging and psychologically rewarding game mode. I'm sure I can speak for a large amount of the player base that we were all just young and became instantly attached. But that was just the beginning. As the player base matured, the game stayed the same. This is what I feel kept Zombies feeling fresh for so long, at least for me. As we matured and changed, the game stayed the same. The game mode remained a mainstay throughout all these years. The innovation combined with the sense of security, Zombies being a safe place in our lives, something relatively linear compared to changing life. Though maps in the Black Ops 1 era weren't overly innovative, and they receive flack these days for it, I don't think it was a bad thing. I believe this is because the player base kept returning around this time for the linear aspect of it, trying to keep the nostalgic feeling going, wanting every game to feel like that first game ever. This is the feeling we strive for with every new map, which would keep us coming back for the years to come. And you could say this applies to any game, of course, and it's not necessarily an exclusive thing to Zombies, but of course it applies to Zombies. However, as we evolve, the need for innovation did come. The linear formula wasn't going to be able to suffice forever. Zombies was backed into a corner with the grand finale of Moon where the Earth blew up, and the classic formula started to lose interest with Transit and Die Rise. People still may have a nostalgic connection to maps like Transit and Die Rise as I do, but I feel like the community has a mob mentality towards these maps, and they really aren't as bad as they say. But following these releases came the map to define the years of Zombies all the way up to the present. That map was the instant classic Mob of the Dead. Instead of having the normal formula of get a gun, open doors, turn on power, survive, the game had an advertised quest line, not as in a hidden Easter egg, but a fetch quest style objective to progress. Having an easy to follow questline in Mob, building the plane, was something that the player base had never seen before, and in my own personal experiences, was something that made the game feel brand new, and kept me coming back to play the map to get that plane built. This was a feeling I hadn't felt since the early to mid Black Ops 1 days. So at this point, Zombies had their first incredible innovation, quests that would evolve over time to become more complex and advertised. However, its biggest innovation wouldn't evolve correctly over time. World at War and Black Ops 1 kept the same formula, and Black Ops 2 changed it, but the changes after that, beginning as early as Black Ops 3, wouldn't dive deep enough to stay off the liked path. Black Ops 3 perhaps had the peak of Zombies, with the advertised questline format showing itself again. And similar to Black Ops 1 and World at War format, the questline could stay amazing for a while, and this is what Black Ops 3 did. Kept it great like Black Ops 1 did for us before. The love for creation was there at Treyarch. The peak of Zombies had arrived. Though the peak of Zombies was in Black Ops 3, I do feel as if this was one of the first errors. Zombies wasn't easily gaining new fans and merely riding out the old fanbase. The story to this point had become extremely confusing, spanning multiverses, which alienated the fanbase from the casual player. There was still a place for the casual player in Zombies, however, so it wasn't much of an issue yet. But if you aren't creating new fans, you risk the chance of the original fanbase leaving when big errors start to be made. This is what Black Ops 4 began to do, making the zombies themselves feel like more of an afterthought to the story. Black Ops 4 on launch had 4 Zombies launch maps, which immediately separated the community into groups instead of pacing the content and having a steady stream stream to the eventual first DLC, not to mention the numerous blue screens and crashes on launch. All of these combined to a UI which was not friendly to the user would send many of the original fanbase out the door. I was one of those people. Adding on to this point, through the games at this point from BO3 to 4, we had a zombies mode every year, further leading to exhaustion at the hands of normalization of the zombies mode in hopes of more money in Activision's pockets. Treyarch had their next big miss with Cold War Zombies. Though the gameplay provided a solid foundation, the mode failed to be supported post-launch. As of writing this, we are getting Firebase Z 3 months post-launch, which is the record for the longest time since a Zombies game launched to getting its first DLC. Though many of the Black Ops games had DLC released closer to February, they had multiple maps on launch to keep players interested. The problem here is what I referred to earlier with reviving zombies. Why does the mode need to be revived constantly since the end of Black Ops 3? Treyarch no longer seems to have the heart and soul to pour in the mode, evidenced by the lack of content, and spoon feeds the content they do have at such a minuscule level, with modes like Jingle Hells and Cranked, which add so little to the game, it's like you're getting approaching expectations on those primary school rubrics. The launch of Cold War Zombies was strong, but after a week or two, most players left due to content restraints. It's safe to say that the Cold War Zombies experience, thus far, has been the epitome of mediocrity, which brings me to my conclusion. What is the legacy of this legendary game mode? What we can do now is look back and reflect on what has been. Zombies will never be like it once was, but that doesn't mean we can't still enjoy it or look back on it fondly. It's all still there. The memories, the first load-in, that first game, that first DLC launch you were a part of. Whatever was your most memorable first, it still lives in your memories. Among other things, Call of Duty Zombies is something that was a big part of all of our lives, and though we can look hopeful to the future, there's a question to be asked to avoid further franchise exhaustion. When is it time to move on and let the past be what it is? The past.